Chosen one, somewhere right now. There is a number with your name already written beside it. And you have been taught to call the wait for it worry, when that is not what it actually is. It is a signal getting jammed on your end, not on the end of heaven. Yours. You have prayed for it. You have worked for it. You have laid awake doing the same math, at 2,000 in the morning, moving the numbers around, as if moving them will make new ones appear, and still most of it does not land the way you were told it would. Here is the part almost nobody tells you. It was never about how hard you were asking. Two things inside you went quiet, in a very specific order, long before money ever became the problem you think it is. One of them made it harder to receive anything. The reason even good things that do come your way are quietly turned down, pushed aside, or explained away, is because the other one close is right after it. You've heard this space a lot, but almost no one has ever told you that the order is more important than the effort. Once you finish reading this message, you will understand something about your mind that has never been put so clearly before. You will also feel it somewhere in your chest when one of those two frequencies starts to move again. And you will leave with one simple, free action that starts to move the second frequency back toward openness. You can do this right now, without having to buy anything. All three must be understood, felt, and done before this is over. You should wait with me for a while. You don't have to believe anything yet. After seeing what I'm about to show you, you only need to pay attention to what your body does while I talk about it. You can let me know you are still here when the rest of this starts by dropping the word received below where you are listening. This way, I'll know you heard everything. Many of the signs don't have anything to do with money, but show that someone is getting closer than they think. If you don't check your account as often as you used to, it's not because you no longer care, but because it hurts to look at it. You're getting really good at making excuses for the good things that happen to you. A compliment, an offer you didn't expect, or a door that opens by itself, as if it were obvious that you shouldn't accept them. The next thing you know, you're busy with things that don't matter while something important is sitting there waiting for your attention. You say it was just a coincidence. It's happened way too many times for it to be a one. That's not weak in any way. None of those things are character flaws you need to own up to and fix. Please know that every seed you plant in this mission grows into a torch that shines in someone else's darkness. Whether by buying a coffee, making a donation, or becoming a member of our community, does not go to a channel. Your actions are supporting a divine mission to save lost souls. But more than your support, we want your presence. When you head to our community through the link in the description, or the pinned comment, you aren't just visiting a site, you are entering a community of like-minded believers. This is a sanctuary where you can post your prayer requests, lift up the burdens of others, and engage in daily discussions with a family that speaks the language of faith. Whether you are joining one of our membership tiers for deeper study, sowing a seed of faith, or simply joining our daily morning prayers, you are helping us build a global altar of worship. Heaven moves through willing voices, but it grows through a community that stands together. Each gift you give acts as living water for those in our community seeking healing and hope. Give, and it will be given to you, is the promise that sustains our shared mission. I invite you now to step out of the shadows and into this circle of prayer. Come with purpose, join the conversation, and plant your seed in fertile ground. Let's open the heavens together. Release your seed today, join our community, and see what God brings back into your life. And things that are patterns can be named, and named things can be changed. You already know that this message did not come to you by accident, if any of what I just said struck a chord with you. One more sign. This one is quieter than the others. It's amazing how well you can picture how life would be if all the stress went away. Not the amount of money in the account, but how it makes you feel. A long-held breath finally came out. That's where we're going. Not a promise of a date, because someone who gives you a date is lying, not telling you the truth. I can give you a pattern that I have seen hold true over and over again in people who felt just like you do now. You must already know who you are because you are still here. That's how fast most people scroll past this kind of messagey. It doesn't really say anything important. You didn't. That tells me something about you that you couldn't have told me. Let me tell you the truth about what you're going through, because right now, being honest is more important than being comfortable. You don't just have one closed door to deal with. There are two of them. It began earlier than you think, and is quieter than the first one. Before the world got a hold of you, you had a mind that could receive without being suspicious. A child doesn't question a present. A child doesn't think about what might happen if someone compliments them 3 times. When a child is given something, they just take it in, feel it all, and then move on to the next wonder. That ability did not go away. It got darker over time, like how a room gets darker as the sun moves, so slowly that you didn't even notice when the light changed. If you live close to the surface, the second door is the one you feel every day. When something good comes along, this reflex takes over and pushes against it quietly before you can stop. People offer you a seat on a crowded train, but you turn them down out of habit. The friend who wants to send you a referral, but you decide not to take it. You don't take advantage of the chance that comes your way for 3 days, because you're not sure it's real. Just about no one tells people who are standing where you are right now this. Putting more effort into either door won't open it, because effort was never the lock. Also, trying to force the second door open while the first one is still dim won't work, because a mind that isn't ready to receive anything fully yet isn't ready to receive money specifically. There it is, the part that none of your other plans have had. Not even more rules. Not a bigger prayer. A command. Not one of these things should you take my word for it. Please be honest, and tell me if either of those 2 doors sounds like a door you've been through before. If you're honest, that one moment is worth more than everything else, because it's when you stop calling it bad luck, and start calling it what it is, a pattern with a start and an end. This is what we are going to do together, in order, because that is what I want to teach you today. First, the exact mechanism behind that first door that was dimmed that quietly stops you from getting anything. Even things that don't have to do with money. You can check right now to see if this pattern is true for you. I will show you where researchers have seen this pattern. Then we'll go through the second door, the one that lets good things in, and then waves them away. And you'll hear the real reason it's there. You will be given a free way to start loosening both of them today, somewhere between those 2. You won't have to buy anything or prove anything. After that, only you and what you know to be true can decide what happens next. It wasn't because they worked harder than everyone else that they made it this far. At last, they knew what they were up against, and how to beat it for the first time in their lives. I'll begin with the oldest door, as that's where everything else stands. Feel free to picture a feeling, but I want you to picture a real moment. You start to read something important, but after 3 paragraphs, you realize you have no idea what you read. You read it again, and maybe a 3rd time, but it still won't stick. Still, a song you loved when you were 9 years old is still stuck in your head, word for word and note for note. Even though you haven't tried to remember it in 30 years. Take a moment to look at that gap. It seems odd. Why would a mind that can't hold a sentence for 30 seconds be able to hold a whole song for 30 years without practicing it? What have you called that? Gap age stress, or too many hours of staring at a screen? All of those explanations don't match up with what really happened. Please read this slowly. This is the mechanism. Gamma is a type of brainwave that is most common in early childhood. It is linked to being naturally curious, learning in a way that doesn't tire you out, and taking in new information without first deciding if it is safe. A child in that state can't fight back against information. They take it in. Around age 7, that frequency starts to slow down for most people. This isn't because they're getting older, because that's just how things are. Because of conditioning, it quiets down. You learn to be still and doubt yourself at school. As this awakening grows inside you, know that helping with this mission is not a joke. It is a sign from God. You can support this work through the link in the description or the pinned comment. Whether by buying a coffee, making a donation, or becoming a member of our Ko-Fi community. By doing so, you become part of Jesus' plan to save souls who are still stuck in fog. Every seed turns into light that fights against darkness. If you water others, you will be watered yourself, Jesus says. This is not history, it is a living promise about your future. Come into this moment with faith and a plan. What God has already planned for your life can be unlocked through your giving. Most of the time, the people around you teach you that being curious costs money, that being amazed by something makes you look stupid, and that wonder is for kids. The frequency that lets you freely take things in slowly changes into one that is narrower, more guarded, and more tired. And a mind that has learned to be careful with information eventually learns to be careful with everything else that comes from outside itself, like money, help, and good things that happen without you having to fight for them. I've seen this shape happen over and over again on different people, so I finally gave it its own name. Not because science told me that was the right word for it, but because that's what I call it. I call it that because that's exactly how it looks on the inside, a sharp, interesting mind slowly dimming, while everyone else calls it growing up. This is not a guess that was made to look like an answer. Dr. Robert Lake is a neuroscientist who studied brainwaves and how sound from outside can change them for 34 years. In addition, his work, along with research from MIT, Princeton, Harvard, and other top research universities, has looked closely at a method called brain entrainment, which uses calibrated sound to gently move the brain back toward a target frequency. I'm not telling you this to show off my name. I'm telling you this because what you're going through is real, and not a flaw in your character. And knowing how something is shaped is the first thing you need to do to change it. You were never failing at anything during the years you felt less smart, less interested, and less able to enjoy something without first analyzing it. You had a frequency that was lowered, but you blamed yourself for it. A woman who taught for 19 years told others that her mind wasn't made for anything else. That any spark she had as a child had been used up by grading papers, and making her small salary go further for a family that needed more. This is someone I often think about. She wasn't lazy. She did not lack faith. She was using a low frequency and calling it her personality. You never caused trouble. That was the dimmer. You can use that to do this right now, for free, before anyone asks you for anything. Remember a simple event that happened to you before you turned 8 years old. Not a big deal. A way in. The way a certain morning smells. The weight of light coming through a window in a room that doesn't exist anymore. Hold it for one slow breath. Really pay attention to what happens in your chest. It's not nostalgia that flickers there. It's still the same frequency, under everything you've built on top of it since then. Some of you may have felt that flicker while you were listening. If you haven't felt anything yet, you might not want to read what comes next. And that's really fine. If that flicker was real for you, type, "I receive this," below where you are listening before I go on. It doesn't cost anything, and will help you remember the moment. This is how I want to be honest with those of you who did. There are 2 audios because 2 separate researchers worked on the same thing for years, studying the frequency I just told you about and the one right behind it, that I haven't talked about yet. One brings back the first frequency, and the other opens up what comes after it. For a reason you will fully understand before this message ends. They can only be used in this order. The first is called The Genius Song, and it's a 7-minute audio file that was made by Dr. Robert Lake based on the brain entrainment research I just talked about. It's meant to gently bring that childhood frequency back into play. The second one is called the Wealth Signal, and it talks about the frequency that ends after the first one. This is the frequency that keeps good things coming in and being quietly turned down. I'll tell you more about that right now, because you haven't fully understood it yet. Restoration comes first, then reception. One doesn't replace the other, and that's why so many of the things you've tried before haven't fully worked. It is important to note that you do not need to listen to those 2 audios in order to understand the rest of this message. Today I'm giving you the pattern, the mechanism, and the free action. They are yours whether you look at them or not. In the description and the pinned comment below this message, both are just sitting there. Keep listening for now. Because the second frequency, the one that hasn't been fully explained yet, is where this really starts to get uncomfortable in a good way. People are more likely to be surprised by the second door, because it hides better. It goes under the guise of being independent, humble, or just careful with money. You're about to understand why. Let me give you something to hold on to before we go there. Everything I've said so far has been about what is broken. You also have the right to see what's on the other side. Think about a morning a few months from now. You wake up before the alarm goes off. Something lighter is already in your chest, before you even have a worried thought. It's like how a room feels different the second someone opens a window you didn't know was broken. There is an extra second of lying there. The knot under your ribs that you've been used to for so long that you forgot it was there is no longer there. The first thing that comes to mind is not to stress about tomorrow. It's more like a question, the kind you stopped asking when you were 8 years old. What is possible now? Get up. You make coffee. Even though nothing major has changed, you notice, almost without meaning to, that the numbers are no longer the first voice you hear every morning. That person is already a part of you. They are not some far off future that you have to work hard to get to. It is one frequency shift away from the present moment you are reading or hearing these words. There is no time between the two of you. It doesn't matter how hard either way of you tried. A long time ago, that frequency was lowered, and it has never been raised again, because no one ever told you it could be. Remember that morning for a moment, because we'll talk about it again later, near the end of this message. But this time from a completely different point of view. Now I'd like to be honest about something that most teachings like this skip over, because it's easier to talk about the mind that doesn't get enough than the mind that has trained itself to get too little. There are two main ways that a mind can connect to good things that happen in life. One is the striving mind, which is what most adults have without giving it much thought. Over and above everything else, it thinks that good things must be earned, and then defended, and that mistakes can always be used to take them back. It can't just enjoy a gift without first figuring out how much it might cost in the long run. It's the mind you were born with, and it's the other one. It can take a compliment without denying it right away. It asks for help without first showing that it needs it. It trusts that good things will happen, not because it's naive, but because it's built that way. That's just the way things should work. You already know which one has been in charge of your life lately. Most people do as soon as they hear both being talked about together. Here is the honest, a little unsettling truth about it. It is not possible to think your way from the mind that is striving to the mind that is receiving. It's still striving to think more about receiving. It is still the same tired mind working extra hours, but it has a new goal in mind. What really changes it is what's going on underneath. And that's where we're going next. There is no character judgment in either mind. No one chooses to have a striving mind. It gets put in early, usually by people who loved you and had the same program as you. You learned how to receive without failing. It was never shown to you that you could learn or relearn how to receive. As we go on, I want you to focus on that part, not feeling bad about the way your mind has been working. You are about to enter your divine future. But remember, this breakthrough is not for you alone. Your testimony is the bridge someone else will use to reach their own miracle. Archangel Michael is inviting you to visit community through the link in the description or the pinned comment. Whether by buying a coffee, making a donation, or becoming a member of our community, does not go to a channel. Your actions are supporting a divine mission to save lost souls. By joining our like-minded community, you are no longer praying in isolation. You are adding your voice to a global sanctuary, where we discuss the Word daily, and stand in the gap for one another. This is not poetry when Jesus says, "Give and heaven will open over you." On this platform, every seed you plant turns into oil for your destiny, fire for your calling, and a hedge of safety for your family. Now is your time. Step into our community prayer wall, share your heart, and as you give, watch God multiply what you let go of. Let's finish this journey together. Visit our community now, join the family, and see your heavens open. Getting noticed. The only way to get somewhere useful is through recognition. And you are standing in it right now. Some of the things I've said so far make sense to me. On some level, you might be thinking that this sounds a bit too clean and easy. Everything is clear: two frequencies, one order. There's nothing wrong with that reaction. In fact, it means your mind is healthy. People who think about what they hear are less likely to be fooled. So I'd rather you think about this than just take it all in. So, think about it. This is what I don't want you to believe. Please don't think that a sound can change the balance of your bank account. It's the same way that you can tell that a plant is leaning toward a window. You don't need to be an expert in plants to understand what you're seeing. Through 2 different lines of research, done by 2 different people in 2 different decades, the same basic shape was found. One looks into how sound changes brainwave activity, and the other into how long-term stress stops the body from absorbing new things. They weren't trying to show that the other was wrong. They just kept landing in the same spot. I can't give you a direct date for when something will change for you. If someone stands here and says they can give you an exact date, they are only telling you what they want you to believe. I can give you the pattern and let you try out a small part of it for free, before you make up your mind about the rest. If the truth is that you still doubt, then keep the doubt. Keep listening along with it. I have seen some of the most helpful changes happen in people who were skeptical the whole time, until their bodies told them otherwise. Now, let's go back to that second door that's hidden behind being careful and independent. Don't judge what you notice about how you react this week. I want you to be honest about it. Recently, did someone offer to help you, but you turned them down before they could finish talking? It's possible that someone complimented you, but you turned it down or deflected it before it could reach your body. That's likely what you called independence. Some of you have said it's because they are humble, don't want to be a bother, or are low maintenance. It's not any of those things. And I say that with great care, because you didn't choose it. It's a reflex, and reflexes are set in stone, not picked. Somewhere in your past, getting something good became quietly linked in your brain to danger. There was a time when a gift came with strings. When you asked for help, you were criticized. It paid close attention and built a quick, automatic alarm that now goes off whenever something good shows up without being asked. It is what I call the alarm reflex. It's not being weak. It is a threat detector that used to keep you safe from real threats, but now shoots at things that were never threats at all. If someone says nice things about you, gives you a chance, or is kind in a way you didn't expect, your nervous system will recognize them as real threats. As a spiritual metaphor, this is not true. It has been shown that a nervous system that has lived through real scarcity keeps looking for loss, even after the threat is gone. Like how a smoke alarm that is too close to the stove goes off when it smells steam. There's nothing wrong with the alarm. It was only set up for a kitchen fire that went out years ago, and no one ever came back to clear it out. So every time you turned down help you needed, a compliment before it hit you, or a chance that sat in your inbox for 3 days, while you thought of a way to make it work, you weren't hurting yourself. There was an old alarm doing its job, which was to keep you safe from a threat that is no longer a threat to you. You were never careless with your good luck. You were watching a door that used to need to be watched, but you forgot to check to see if it still did. That money can be used to do the following today, without buying anything, or changing anything about your life. When someone gives you something good, like help, a compliment, a seat, or a kindness, don't make it better or take it away. Say, yes, just once. Then, really pay attention to how your body tries to undo it, explain it away, or give it back. The resistance you just felt in your chest is exactly what we've been talking about. Giving it a name is the first thing that will help it lose its hold. I want to take a moment to be honest with you. Because something interesting usually happens right about now. We are a little past the middle of what I have to show you today. The names I talked about earlier, the one that was sitting quietly in the description, and the one that was pinned, are still there, the same, waiting for whoever they belong to. I'm not going to go back to them over and over again. I just wanted to let you know that they haven't moved. I want to talk about something that a lot of you are thinking. Maybe even though you aren't saying it out loud. There have been times when prayer seemed to go nowhere. Affirmations said into a mirror became silly after 3 weeks. A vision board you made with real hope that is now collecting dust somewhere in your house, and maybe even a class, coach, or book that promised a complete change, but only made your wallet a little lighter. I'm not here to tell you that any of that was wrong. All of those things you did were meant to slowly change your beliefs and discipline from the inside, often against strong resistance. That way of thinking asks your mind to change itself, while the frequency that can actually make change happen is still lowered. You did all of those things right. You used a real tool on only half of a 2-part problem, and the other half was shut all the while by the half you didn't aim at. That's a pretty big difference. This is the difference between banging on a locked door for years and finally being told the right way to open it. According to what Dr. Robert Leahy has written about his research, he has seen this exact pattern happen over and over again with people who tried effort-based approaches on their own and hit the same quiet ceiling. It wasn't because they lacked willpower. Willpower was never the missing piece. I know that some of you are really tired, like when you've been trying hard for years and still feel like you're at the same place you started. This isn't another program that makes you work harder at the same thing that has already worn you out. It wants you to look in a way that you have never seen before. Before we go any further, I want to give you one more piece of real, useful information. Because this message should make you smarter about your own mind, even if you don't read anything in it. The decline effect, which is what I called it earlier, does more than just affect memory and interest. It also changes the timing. And this is the part that almost no one gets. If your mind is still dimmed, you don't just get less, you also notice less. People miss chances that were right in front of them for weeks. Not because they were hidden, but because they aren't paying attention, because they think most of the information they take in is just background noise, and only keep what seems important or dangerous. That's why so many people say that their breakthrough felt sudden when it finally came. It wasn't sudden very often. It's likely that the door had been open for a while. What changed was how well they could see it. Not only that, but worry itself is mechanically useless for this reason. The more you think about what could go wrong, the less room there is in your mind to notice what is quietly going right. You can try this today for free. Feel everything for the next few hours, even if it's something small like a passing comment, a small offer, or an idle thought. Notice it, but don't do anything about it. Instead of putting it away, let yourself be curious. In real time, that one habit is the decline effect: letting go, no sound needed. Now I want to drill down into the alarm reflex we talked about. That reflex has a physical cause, and knowing that cause changes how you deal with it. There are two main states that your nervous system is always going through. One is calm, open, and receptive. It's linked to a brain wave pattern called alpha. Your mind settles into this state right before you go to sleep, during a long, slow walk, or in the quiet seconds after a real laugh. One is alert, scanning, and defensive, and it's linked to a faster pattern called beta. This is the state that most adults live in for almost their whole waking day, because modern life, especially financial stress, makes the body think that danger is always just around the corner, even when you're sitting still and nothing in the room is actually threatening you. Beta isn't bad. For safe crossing a busy street, you need it. The problem is that beta takes over almost completely when it is left to run all the time, and alpha is the state your mind needs to receive anything. An idea, an opportunity, or a real moment of rest. If your mind is stuck in beta, it's like being at a locked gate and not being able to get through. For a big part of his career, neuroscientist Dr. Stephen Newton has been studying this gate. He went against the establishment to publish this research on his own. I'll talk more about his work in a moment. It's possible that you've prayed and believed for something good to happen, but it still felt like you were reaching through glass to get it. It was clear. You were almost able to touch it, but you couldn't because of something you couldn't see. That doesn't mean you don't believe. That's beta being high, which keeps the gate shut no matter how honestly you asked on the other side. Next, we'll go to that gate and find out exactly what closes it, and what quietly opens it again. I also want you to know that this is the most important part of what I have to show you today. Follow me through it. Here is the symptom, and I want you to really think about it. This is the one that most people notice the fastest and fight the hardest. You hear yourself say, "No," before you even finish making up your mind when someone offers to help you. When someone compliments you, you give it back right away, before it has a chance to sink in. You see a chance, a referral, or a small door that you didn't expect, but instead of walking through it, you think of 17 reasons why it won't work before you even try. The whole time you've lived, you've wanted more, and have quietly turned down 100 small offers of it, never realizing it. That's what you call freedom. Some of you have said it's because they are humble, realistic, or just don't want to get their hopes up again, after being let down too many times. Not any of those things. I want to be kind but honest with you here. It is a reflex, and reflexes are set in stone, not picked. People don't sit down and choose to turn down good things. Over many years, the body learns to do that quietly, until it feels like personality instead of what it is. This is the mechanism that's under it. It's the heaviest thing I have to show you today. So, do it slowly. Beta is the faster brainwave state I talked about earlier. It stays in the body almost permanently when it is under a lot of financial stress and low-grade worry about money, the future, and whether things will hold together. And beta, which is high and almost always present, changes the brain in a certain way. For people who study stress and the body, it causes neural rigidity, which is like mentally bracing. The nervous system is ready for impact even when nothing is hitting it. In that state, the brain is structurally bad at one thing: receiving. Not earning, not striving, just receiving. Alpha, the slower, calmer wave that comes with being truly open, gets pushed to the side. And alpha is the exact mental state you need to take in something good without resisting it, checking it out, or giving it back right away. The stress signal is what it is, a signal that is so loud and constant that it blocks out the quieter frequency your mind needs to be able to receive anything at all. I don't call it that, because that's the only name for it in a lab somewhere. Dr. Stephen Newton, a neuroscientist who went against the establishment to publish this research on his own, after years of working at Stanford, Boston University, and other research institutions, has spent a lot of his career studying this closed gate. His work focuses on sound techniques that are carefully calibrated to gently move the brain back toward alpha, lowering the constant beta noise, just enough to let the reception channel below it open again. This is not the same list of institutions I talked about earlier for the first time. These are two separate researchers who worked on their own projects for years and never worked together. They both came up with pieces that fit together to make a bigger picture. Dr. Lake has never said that he really measured you. Dr. Newton has also not said anything like that. What each has written about is a pattern that has been seen in a lot of people in similar situations. You can't count on a pattern. It's the only thing I can say that is truly honest. That's why it was never that nothing good happened to you. Things showed up and doors opened. They couldn't stay on that frequency long enough for them to land. So you were just running it. Not a life of lack, but one of arrivals that you were quietly built to avoid. Do these things today with that money, before you decide what to do next. When someone offers you something, like help, a compliment, a seat, a favor, or a chance, don't make it better or take it away. Say, yes, just once. Then feel where your body tries to undo it right away. What we've been talking about this whole message is that resistance right there. You just found it. By itself, that's worth more than most people ever get. Please take a moment to slow down. You have been carrying a lot of weight for the past few minutes, and that weight needs a place to rest before we go any further. Before I go on, take a slow breath. But not because there is a technique involved right now. It's just because you've been holding a lot, and deserve a moment to relax before we finish this together. If you read this far, you knew deep down that this wasn't going to be another message about your real situation, even before I said a word. By now, most people would have left. You didn't. That's a fact about you. I'd like to tell you the truth. It's easy to skip over this kind of honesty in messages like this one. There is a chance that you are thinking that even if everything I said is true, it probably isn't true for you. That this is for people whose lives are easier, whose faith is stronger, and who haven't been let down as many times as you have. I can see why you might think that. But I'd like to gently tell you that it's wrong. There was never a time when this was made for people who already knew everything. It was made for people who were brave enough to keep listening, even after all other quiet attempts failed. When you believe hard for a long time and haven't seen much progress, you get a certain kind of tired. If that sounds like you, pay close attention. You won't get in trouble for taking too long to figure this out. This order wasn't given to you earlier. I can't tell you which week something changes for you. Anyone who says that is selling you something they don't really know. I can tell you the truth about the order. Keep the child in mind first, then receive. People who came into this feeling just as unready as you might feel right now have held on to that part over and over again. A child doesn't think about whether it has earned what it wants before it goes for it. It just reaches. That's not a sign of not being mature. The whole point of this message was to help you remember how to get back to that frequency. Let that one truth land today if nothing else does. You don't have to first prove your worth. You have to first be ready to receive, and being worthy was never the gate. A teacher once said that, unless someone changes and acts like a child, they will not enter what was promised to them. This was a long time ago, before science existed. He didn't just talk about a place after this life, I think. I believe he was talking about a frequency, at least in part. I also think that fewer people than you might think ever figure out that he was also giving an order. Before the end, I want to show you one more picture, because you deserve something nice. After everything we just went through, think about a day not too long from now. It's a number, a door, or a name that you didn't expect to hear. It's something good. You also notice something very odd. You can't say no to it with anything in you. There is no bracing, no mental list of reasons why it might not work out, and no quiet voice asking what it will cost you in the end. Your chest and hands stay open. It's like a child who opens a gift without checking to see if it comes with any strings attached. You just wait for it to arrive. There's no change in the way you try to get there. Your nervous system stopped seeing good things as threats once you changed. That person who reads these words now, and that person who stood there at that time, are not different because of effort or worthiness. One channel that was closed is now open. Some of you can already see that day so well that it almost hurts. Keep that picture in mind. It is more like a memory of a place you are about to go back to than a story about a place you have never been. These two frequencies stay the same for another day, which means that day gets farther away. The reason heaven isn't giving it to you is that the way it was supposed to get there has been closed for as long as you can remember. Additionally, closed channels don't open on their own when you wait. Before we go on, I want to give you something to do right now. It doesn't cost anything, and takes less than 2 minutes. Place your feet up and close your eyes if you can. You don't need headphones or silence. You only need your attention for about 90 seconds. This works the same no matter where you are. Whether you are standing still, walking, or just taking a break between two other things today. Think of a room, not a specific memory, where a child, the child version of you, still stands exactly as they did as a child, slow, interested, with their hands slightly open at their sides. There is a door in front of them that is closed, but not locked. It is just closed, like a door stays closed after being left open for a long time. Now, change the way you're looking at it. You're not reaching for something outside of yourself as you try to get in through that door. You are being given something that was meant for you a long time ago, and you may be being asked for the first time to just take it without working for it. If your shoulders are holding you back right now, let them fall. If it feels good, let one hand rest with the palm facing up instead of closed, and a little open where it rests. Honestly, pay attention to what moves in your chest right now. No matter how small it was, that change is real. It's not just your mind. It's likely to go away in a few minutes, which is not a failure. To be clear, a channel needs to be opened properly and consistently so that it can hold a state for much longer than a single breath. Please type, "I am ready," below where you are listening if that made you feel anything, and let's keep going together to the end of this. Now that you know all of this, why does it not change anything? You can now see how it works. These are the names of both frequencies. If nothing else changes, your chest will probably feel the same way tomorrow morning as it did today. The answer is not in how well you understand. It was never there. Truth was never the room itself, it was just the doorway. Now you know something you didn't know when this message started. You stopped hearing two frequencies, in a certain order long before money became the story you told yourself about your life. The first one made it harder to receive anything. Even the good things that did come didn't fully land, because of the second thing that came right after it. If you restore the first without the second, you'll be awake but still have nothing. When you try to restore the second without the first, your mind is still, and can't hold what you're trying to hold. In that order, some people now call it a child mind reversal, and it gives you the same thing. First wake up the part of you that can receive, and then let it in. The identity that lies beneath these two frequencies is the same as it has always been. You are not someone who tried hard and had faith but failed to make their life better. No one ever told you about your two lowered frequencies, but now you know what they are. The clarity you just got is real. Being clear has never been enough to open a closed channel. I have kept one more thing from you until now on purpose, so that it would have meaning instead of just being words, before I take you where I want to take you. Chosen one, I need you to still be here when I say something over your life before this message ends. Both of these frequencies were put inside you before you had a name for either of them. It's not because you bought them, earned them, proved them, or empowered them. The way furniture is put together in a room, before a child is old enough to notice it. The first one was turned down, and then the second one was shut right away. Because of that order, nothing you tried on its own ever really worked. Earlier in this message, two names moved quietly through what I was teaching you, and sat down below it, without being claimed. Now is the time when they finally matter. There is now a name for the first frequency, which is the one that lets you receive. This is known as the decline effect, and there is a way to slowly bring it back to being active. It is a 7-minute audio file based on research on brain entrainment by the same Dr. Robert Lake, whose work we looked at earlier. The research that supports this approach comes from MIT, Princeton, Harvard, and a number of other top research universities. It's known as the Genius Song, not an event or a class. 7 minutes a day through headphones, giving a child back to the exact frequency they live in without them having to do anything. It doesn't promise that you'll become brilliant overnight. It brings back one frequency, which is the one this message has been based on. It gives you something simple, which is exactly what someone with a dim decline effect needs. You'll feel curious again, be present again, and be able to quietly notice what was always there. The child in you will wake up first, just the way it was meant to be. That is the first door. When it opens all the way, something mysterious and interesting takes place. In Ohio, a nurse began the restoration audio with a lot of doubt in her heart. After 3 weeks, nothing major had happened, and she had already written an email to ask for her money back. But she never sent it. Even so, she kept going for 2 more weeks because, in her own words, it didn't really cost her anything. After 6 weeks, her daughter asked her why she did not say no when people offered to help but instead said, "Yes, let me take that." She hadn't seen the change herself. It was seen by someone else first. That happens a lot. More common than stories with a lot of action. People around you are more likely to notice this in the people who are not you than in yourself. It's pretty clear pretty quickly what almost no one expects after the restoration audio does all of its work. One door stays shut even after the child wakes up. It's not the same thing as being able to receive again as the channel being open. Even if someone is fully present and interested again, they may still hear themselves say no to help out of habit. It's real to wake up. On top of that, it's only half of what this message has been about. There is a second frequency that closes right after the first one. Putting them back in this order is now known as the two-wave stack. The child wakes up, and then the TV shows begin. Here is a good spot to write down anything that made you feel something after hearing it. Drop the words that show up below, where you are listening before we go on. The second sound starts right where the first one left off. This is the last step in the restoration process. It's called the wealth signal, and it's a 5-minute audio file and a short 9-word script based on an old method. They are both aimed at the second frequency we talked about earlier. The first sound worked on gamma, but this one works on the opposite end. It gently lowers that constant beta noise and guides the brain back toward alpha, which is the state your mind needs to receive something good, instead of just noticing it. This method was created by Dr. Stephen Newton, the neuroscientist who went against the establishment to publish this research on his own. The research behind it comes from Stanford, Boston University, and other research institutions that are completely separate from the researcher and institutions that worked on the first frequency. It starts to show when the child wakes up. Stop letting chances slip by without noticing them. Help will no longer be turned down automatically. What was always being given finally has a place to land. Be like a little child. An old saying went. Then receive what was promised. First come restoration, then receive what was promised. This is the second part of the same sentence. One might wonder why this needs two things instead of one. This is the whole truthful answer. It's not a lack of faith that's stopping your future. It's two frequencies that are off in the right order. Restoring only one of them will leave the other one, holding the door shut behind it. Receiving without restoring aims for something that a mind that is still dim can't hold yet. This is why neither one by itself would ever be enough, both in that order. It's normal to wonder if starting something like this is a commitment you are ready to make. Nothing needs to be done or learned in order to do it. It only takes a few minutes a day, and the real risk is taken care of somewhere else, which is what I'll show you next. Today I have been honest with you about everything I have said, and I want to take you to this place where it all ends. And it's not a menu. This message has been pointing in a quiet way toward one path. That's the end of it. When the child wakes up, they can hear both sounds in the order we went over, restoration first and reception second, until the whole sequence is over. Once you know the order, this is the path that most people see as the only one that finishes what it starts. Full restoration is not the most expensive choice on the list. Instead of half of the sentence, it's just the whole thing. This is where some of you should start restoration alone. I want to be clear about what that means. There is no less of a choice. It's the first step of the same journey, the doorway before the room. It's true and useful on its own for people who aren't ready to go through the whole course yet. For some of you, the child inside you never really went to sleep. If that really is you, only the second frequency applies, and that door can be used by itself as well. The two audios are each half of a single sequence, and they work together the way they were meant to. You can listen to the restoration audio, along with a short resource called Genius Child. This is for anyone who wants to keep a child's mind from becoming dim before it starts. There is a book called 20 Wealth Signal Success Stories next to the reception audio. It has real stories from people who are further along this path than you are now. The value being put on this message and the audios adds up to 418. There are no fine print on any of it. If you go through either door and don't like what you see, you have 90 days to get your money back in full, no questions asked. You also get to keep all of the bonuses. Reports say that almost 38,000 people have gone through one door or the other, and less than 5 out of every 100 have ever asked for a refund. This isn't a place to learn anything or plan anything. You listen, that's the whole point. It comes right away by email. Nothing is shipped, there is no recurring billing, and there is no way to cancel later, because there was never a subscription. Really look at that, and see how much the same kind of shift costs somewhere else. A meditation subscription that you pay for every month, even if you don't use it. A course that promises a prosperity mindset that lasts for several weeks, a weekend retreat, and a series of paid coaching sessions. That's all for just a few minutes a day. In the morning, we stood inside together first. The one where something good came your way, and you didn't do anything to turn it down. Every day it moves one day farther away, but the frequency behind it stays the same. It's not because it's being kept from you. The easy to receive part of you is already waiting on the other side of a door that only you can open. Everything we talked about today is in one place. All of it, both audios, all the bonuses, the full guarantee, and nothing else. It is put right below this message. Take a deep breath and ask yourself which sentence really feels more true before you make a choice. For a long time, the child inside me has been asleep, or it is awake but hasn't been shown how to get to what it wants. I'm not going to answer that for you. Your spirit already knows, and it doesn't need my okay to believe what it heard itself say. This morning, we walked along paths that are not hidden and are not hard to find. They have been right where they are, both below this message and in the pinned comment the whole time we've been talking. If you missed either of them the first time they were talked about, wherever your spirit lands, you can find restoration alone, reception alone, or the whole path that most of you have already been drawn to. The doors are waiting for you, not after you. Walk through the one that calls to you, not the one you think you should pick. One more quick thing, for people who go beyond the paths we talked about today. Along with the restoration audio, there is an amped version called Young Brain, for people who want the same reactivation to go even further. There is a companion called the Wealth Signal Accelerator that sits next to the reception audio. Its job is to open the channel faster for people whose path requires it. Both are just waiting for the person who comes in the first door to meet them. The area we walked through today was already whole and didn't lack anything. These are only for the few of you whose path really does ask for more, if your spirit confirms it later and never before. This message has been played for you from the very beginning to now. A lot of people don't get this far. This is when most people leave, long before they are asked to do anything important. You stayed through the whole thing, even the parts that were hard to hear. That wasn't a mistake, and neither is what I'm about to say to you. Before I say it, I want you to just take a moment to notice everything you've been carrying up until now. Stress, waiting, and years of doing math at 200 a.m., moving the same numbers around in the hopes that new ones would show up. Take one last, gentle look at everything. Now let it go all the way, like when your hand finally opens up after clenching something for a long time. You don't have to carry it around for one more day to show that you really want things to change. You always meant what you said. It was never a question. Chosen one, pay close attention. I am someone who has been dimmed and is now waking up. I've reached out without receiving, and I'm learning how to just hold out my hands. I'm not the person who called me with worry. I am the one who was picked long before worry had a name, and the child in me is no longer expected to earn what was already given. If that's true for you, even if it's just a little bit, then go through the door your spirit named. Also, if someone came to mind while you were listening today, send this to them before you do anything else. They might be waiting for the same order that you just got. That's how it is. We stood inside together that morning. The one where something good came, and nothing in you moved to turn it down is still there, waiting, just the way we left it. Today was just a picture for some of you. Some of you got that kind of recognition that you don't have to explain to anyone else. It was the one you know. What you need is right below this message, and it will be sent to you as soon as your spirit is ready. Do not be in a hurry about any of this. Remember what was said today, think about it, and come back to that door whenever it's time. Chosen one, the wait was never because you didn't have an answer. There was a jam on your end, and you were never the one who caused it. Before we get to the end of this powerful story, let's reflect on this deep truth. You did not find this message by accident. This is a divine appointment meant specifically for you. You are being invited into a protected, faith-filled community at the link in the description and pinned comment, a place where divine abundance is not just a hope, but a promise built on the Word. By heading to the site right now, you are unlocking access to a sacred community of like-minded believers. When you join our membership tiers, you gain immediate entry to powerful content, daily devotions, and divine insights that are hidden from the world. This is your chance to enter a sanctuary, where you will receive spiritual guidance, unwavering support on our prayer wall, and speedy progress toward your destiny. Do not let this moment of destiny pass you by. Your breakthrough is waiting. Join our inner circle through the exclusive link in the description. This is how you guarantee you never miss the personalized messages and spiritual warfare tools meant to elevate your life. If you feel called to deepen your connection, the link is waiting for you in both the pinned comment and the description. For those who want to amplify this work and carry the light home, you can find our guided ebooks and Bibles in the pinned comment. Whether you join as a member or sow a seed through our resources, your presence and energy change the world. Take the step. Your abundance awaits.